Hello and welcome to A&K's fourth podcast on the Wheel of Time series. Today we'll be looking at Book 1, Chapter 3, entitled The Peddler. So just as a brief recap, so far we've had Rand and Tam's father come into the village. And Rand has talked to his friends about the rider that he's seen, and found out that he's not the only one. Although the main other person who's seen this rider is not the most reliable of sources. His friend Matt, who also happens to be a bit of a prankster, and at the end of the last chapter, the peddler had just come into town. So. So when the peddler comes, everyone goes into a bit of a frenzy, trying to buy pins and other trinkets and useful items off him.
Oh no, not just that. It was the news. That's the main thing they wanted. Peddlers bring news from other towns. That was the main. I mean, yeah, there were people wanting to buy stuff, but that was the main thing they wanted. They wanted to know what was going on.
True.
The rest of the world.
Yeah, the peddler's name was Fane. And
is.
Fine. I use the right tense.
He's still alive in the book.
As far as we know.
In our present time, he is.
Good point. Yeah, and he's kind of soaking up the the attention that he's getting. He's kind of
definitely knows how to work a crowd.
Yeah,
and enjoys it.
Yes, and
so much to the point where Rand kind of thinks that he's going to be a bit upset about there being a gleeman in town.
I also find it rather humorous that that someone is behind Rand trying to talk to him about what's going on a little bit. And Rand...
That's the
mayor's son, isn't it?
No, it's the apprentice blacksmith.
Oh, yeah, that's right, it's two.
I can't remember his name.
And, the peddler is trying to tie up his horses and whatnot at the time. And Rand is saying, "I'll talk to you later. Later!" And just as he says that last later, everyone has gone silent. So this later is now being heard above everything. And the peddler's like, "No, I will tell you now."
Yeah.
And so Rand's gotten a little red-faced. And so this peddler so Fane, starts... starts passing along the news that the council has come out to, by the way, and the crowd has made an appropriate spot for them, kind of front and center.
He works the crowd a little bit with pausing to make sure that he's
dramatic effect.
The most dramatic effect, and whispering, and even though it's not really whispering, everyone can hear, those sorts of things. He really enjoys teasing a crowd and having the knowledge and attention for a peddler.
And so he
brings up a couple of things. Brings up news of the winter and the wolves still being around, not just there but everywhere. It's the blight, as he calls it, is affecting everywhere, or is everywhere's being affected by the blight. And then he goes into things that are much worse, which happens to be the bulk of the conversation that uproars the town with the claiming of a new dragon.
Who is allegedly a descendant or some form of the character.
Rebirth of the previous.
Who was the person that got turned into a mountain. At the end of the prologue.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see what the actual connection is there, to find that part out.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a difference. See, there's a difference between this one though and the others. Apparently, there have been many who have claimed to be and have proved not to be by dying or disappearing. And in particular, the last couple of months, 3, I think it said, or 4 or so, have claimed it, and it's caused wars and things like that, which of course have been an issue.
the opposing side being known as the Aes Sedai. Although what the trying to figure out how this, the politics of how this is all set up is we're still kind of working that out.
But I can see why they want a war against him. I mean, like, how many have caused devastation
just by claiming to be him.
Claiming to be him, and then, so they're probably a bit sick and tired of so many people claiming to be this dragon whom they are not. But the difference with this one is that apparently, even though the Peddler hasn't personally seen it, he has been able to use the one power, which causes madness.
Which we are, I'm assuming, is the Wheel of Time's world's version of magic.
Yeah, and also explains the prologue a bit with what he was going through. So obviously he's used the magic, the one power, too much, and it's caused him to go mad. So I'd imagine that they also wanted to stop even if if he was who he says he was, that possibly another reason for them fighting against him is to stop this reoccurrence of the madness that had devastated the world already.
Well, you can kind of understand it, because if it could be this madness that caused the original dragon to kill his family.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, and it's not. But it wasn't just his family. It obviously was more than that.
More widespread. Yeah, no, I agree.
Because everyone knows about it, and the devastation that it caused. So obviously, it wasn't just his immediate family. It was, and
bigger.
Servants and stuff. It must have been bigger.
Yeah.
And there's also a clear reference mentioning that men cannot safely use the one power without going mad, and that only women are able to use the power.
Yay, girl power! Sorry.
Girl power, yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. They are the only ones that are able to safely touch and use it, or effectively use it.
I find it interesting as well that, I mean, when all this is being brought up in the big war in Gildan that's being fought against the dragon and whatnot, how the town is going Burko, essentially, thinking that, okay, another dragon's has come into being, and essentially all hell's going to break loose.
Well, the only reason why they're thinking that one is because this time round is because of the reference to the powers. I mean, look, before then, they didn't really. They kind of say, oh yeah, another idiotic person claiming to be someone he's not. It wasn't until he whispered and mentioned the powers that people who the Peddler trusts have supposedly seen him use, that they start to actually grow concerned.
No, a bit more concerned. I mean, everyone is.
They didn't really. They weren't really concerned, because how many had come before?
Well, true. I'm not disputing that, but the town
war hadn't really touched their town.
It took a while for the town to settle, though. It did take a while for the town to settle, though. Thinking the Dark One is coming, and the mayor had to remind them that the dragon is not the Dark One, and the town was really worried about what could happen to
them. And understandably so. But again, it was only after the mention of the seeing of his powers.
I'm loving the character of Sen Buey at the Thatcher at this point as well, because during it all, the mayor's trying to settle the town down,
and he's being a little more realistic.
And
look around you, kind of thing.
Not only that, but in my mind, he's trying to reel the town up, which I do find, pretty cool in some, or I do find understandable at some points. Because in that kind of or at least in a in a good council, you want different points of view, different perspectives, so that you make sure you look at all sides of an issue. While I agree that a good council is one that is able to agree on what various outcomes should be, I also like the idea of there being opposing members on a council who can provide those different perspectives to go, oh yeah, we hadn't considered that before. And that seems to be, kind of Sten's role on this council, is to provide an opposing viewpoint.
Well, no, I think he's the pessimist in. And that but not just that, is that he calls it like he sees it. He's that kind of a person to me. Like he is a bit pessimistic.
A realist?
Yeah, probably realist. He seemed to say, look around you, the fact that winter, but he's also got to trust. He must have a certain level of trust with the peddler, because he's relying also on his information about winter not ending everywhere, crops not growing and stuff like that everywhere, and walls getting bolder and stuff like that. So he's taken what he has observed and seen around his own town, and added it to the peddler's information and gone, well, obviously dark times are coming, and we need to be prepared. So I do get that he is a bit of a realist, but it's also
Now, before the town can question him too much more, the council realises that they need to kind of stop the panic that's happening, and have a more, it's
not panic, just more being able to get more than one question out at a time. So being able to actually have a discussion.
Correct.
Where they can get the information
instead of just
full on blown out.
Well, I'm kind of the kind of image that I'm having here is kind of a reporter's frenzy. A little. I love another show that both Kay and I have watched is that of The West Wing. And right now, the kind of scene that I'm picturing is, for those who haven't seen this, I'd say go to season 5, episode 1, shortly after. And spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, I do apologise for this. Feel free to skip, say, the next 30 seconds if you want to, or a minute. But when CJ walks into the press room to talk about Zoe Bartlett being kidnapped, and the way that the room is packed from wall to wall with reporters all trying to get information on what happened, and that's the kind of image I'm having in terms of the peddler, that everyone is trying to talk to him, get information, get items, get his attention for one thing or another.
But CJ knows how to work a room, so it's really not a good comparison.
I know it's a great comparison because so does the peddler.
Oh yeah, okay, but she's it's not the peddler, not CJ as it were, trying to gain control. It's because he's already got it. It's the council.
True.
So it's not really.
Well, I'm just saying that's anyway.
It's a similar situation.
But in order to, to try and gain some form of semblance, the council pulls the peddler away into the end so they can have a more controlled, kind of discussion with him and try and get more reasonable information out of him. Shortly after he leaves, or as he's leaving, I find it kind of cute that one of the guys there was, but my wife sent me here to get pins.
Yeah.
I can't get my pins now.
Yeah, she's going to be upset.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
Nice touch put in there.
You can buy your pins later.
And
your pins and wares later and stuff, yeah.
So, Matt and Rand and Ewan are left outside. Everyone, the crowd starts to disperse when they realise show's over. And they're starting to talk about, what the peddler has been saying.
What's been discussed.
And what's been discussed, and Matt is, again, in his own silly, joking type way. You know, talking about a farmer that he had caught saying, saying the Dark One's name once, and how he had tried to get him to say it again, and this how the farmer would refuse to do it. And Rand was, just kind of shaking his head. What are you doing, Matt? Just, yeah. And in the middle of that, a kind of little joking conversation about, what the Peddler's been saying, Nynaeve, the wisdom, comes along and starts scolding them and saying, "What the heck are you talking about the Dark One for? You shouldn't, be even discussing that's stupid. You're kind of invoking his wrath, or kind of inviting his evil to come here. And why are you talking about it? Because she was not part of the crowd. She didn't know that the Peddler had come. Had no idea what was going on. So Rand says, "Look."
Oh well, no, she knew the Peddler come because that's why she'd come down, but she hadn't known what was discussed.
Oh, fair point.
She was still coming down.
Because there was a villager who had a fever that she needed to wait for it to break, that she was taking care of. So, I'm still trying to figure out the role of the wisdom, but she seems to be part soothsayer, part healer, part fortune teller.
Like
a little bit.
A shaman. To me, a shaman was someone who. That's why I said the first time. Anyone know? She's the wisdom. She's a shaman. It's essentially what she is. She heals. She gives advice, and she also observes and is one with the nature.
All right. But anyway, she's scolding him, and Matt.
I do have to question about whether or not, though, if the wisdom are the women who can actually touch the power without
going crazy.
Without going crazy. If maybe that's what they're referring to, or it could be something. It could be someone totally different. But that's a conclusion.
Or a personal theory, yeah.
About what the power is, or how the power is used.
It would have to be a very light form of it, with what Nynaeve would have access to, though.
Well, we haven't really we don't know a great deal about her, really, to be able to know. So, we weren't there, we didn't know exactly what she did to help break the fever or anything like that. So, until we get more information.
At this stage, we don't know.
Yes.
But based on what I'm hearing, at least as far as that, the references that have been made to her, or about her, it would be very limited access as
comparison to what this guy's claiming to be able to do.
Yeah.
As the dragon, yes.
Well, it's possibly through lack of training, because in a backwater kind of area like that, I don't think that there would be anyone that would be able to give Nynaeve the full kind of training that would be required to fully access the one power.
How do you know that? It also could be that women just have bloody sense and don't use that phenomenal amount of power to drive them mad.
Have you watched Buffy at all and seen what what's the Willow ends up doing?
Oh yeah, but she gets driven mad because someone killed her love and stuff.
No, that was before then.
It was before then, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's